Throughout the annals of military history, few names evoke the awe and mystique of Geronimo. This legendary Apache leader defied the odds, leading just 35 warriors while outmaneuvering 5,000 U.S. troops across two nations. While others were captured or killed, Geronimo's unparalleled ability to evade pursuit earned him a place as an enduring symbol of resistance and tactical genius in military lore, where we delve into the extraordinary saga of the Apache Nation. The origins and early history of the Apache people are as remarkable as their exploits, transforming the unforgiving terrain of the Southwest into their greatest ally. They created an intricate web of hidden trails and strongholds. This was no mere guerrilla warfare. It was a masterclass in strategy, enabling small bands to outmaneuver vast armies. Ironically, their name, Apache, derived from the Zuni word Apachu, meaning enemy, was given by their adversaries. This unintended tribute became a lasting testament to their formidable reputation. The Apache's journey began far from the arid deserts they later dominated. In the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest during the 13th century, archaeological findings of Athabascan artifacts and unique pottery designs reveal their origins. During their monumental migration between the 13th and 15th centuries, they chose an arduous route through the southern plains of Texas, Oklahoma, and New Mexico instead of natural canyon corridors. This deliberate path forged a resilience that would later define their military dominance. The harshness of these open plains molded the Apache into a formidable force. As the Apache people settled, they divided into groups, with the Eastern Apache moving toward Texas and Oklahoma, while the Western Apache claimed Arizona and New Mexico. Each group developed distinct characteristics while retaining their core identity. Among the most fascinating aspects of their story is their kinship with the Navajo. Like distant relatives, they shared the Athabascan language but pursued markedly different lifestyles, a divergence akin to the cultural nuances between American and British English. The lands the Apache eventually claimed stretched across eastern Arizona, northern Mexico, New Mexico, western Texas, and southern Colorado. This vast expanse was no random conquest. It was a fortress perfectly suited to their extraordinary military tactics. Centuries of intimate knowledge of every canyon, pass, and water source made them unbeatable defenders of their homeland. Their mastery of this rugged terrain was so profound that modern military forces still study their guerrilla warfare and stealth tactics. Movies portraying soldiers using such strategies in desert environments pay homage to techniques the Apache perfected long ago. Social and cultural structure. The Apache Nation consisted of 6 major tribes: the Chiricahua, Jicarilla, Western Apache, Kiowa, Mescalero, and Lipan. Among these, 3 tribes stand out for their unique contributions. The Chiricahua, known as the people of the Great Mountain, were the most formidable. From their mountainous strongholds in southeastern Arizona, they controlled vast territories extending into New Mexico and northern Sonora, Mexico. Leaders like Cochise and Geronimo honed military strategies that influenced warfare for generations. The Jicarilla Apache's history offers a compelling narrative. Migrating from Canada's Athabascan regions between 1300 and 1500 AD, they settled in a homeland spanning over 50 million acres in northern New Mexico, southern Colorado, and western Oklahoma. Unlike other Apache groups, they blended nomadic traditions with settled practices, becoming skilled traders who forged enduring ties with Pueblo peoples and later Spanish settlers. The Mescalero Apache, named after their extensive use of the mescal plant, agave, adapted brilliantly to some of the Southwest's harshest terrains. Their resourcefulness enabled them to thrive in both desert lowlands and mountainous forests. Centered around the Sacramento Mountains and Sierra Blanca Peak in New Mexico, they developed advanced methods for harnessing resources across varying elevations and seasons. A key innovation in Apache daily life was the travois. This A-shaped wooden frame with a stretch platform was initially pulled by dogs to transport supplies between camps. However, with the arrival of Spanish horses in the 16th century, the Apache adapted the travois design for their new companions. revolutionizing their mobility and ensuring their survival in an ever-changing landscape. The Apache story is one of resilience, adaptability, and unyielding spirit. From their origins to their mastery of some of the harshest environments, they not only defended their way of life, but shaped a legacy that continues to inspire and endure. Historical accounts reveal that the horse-drawn travois revolutionized Apache mobility, increasing its capacity to carry up to 5 times more weight than its predecessor pulled by dogs. This innovation allowed Apache families to travel up to 20 miles per day, compared to the previous 5 to 8 miles, enabling the transport of larger teepees, greater quantities of food and water, and essential supplies. This newfound mobility was not merely a convenience. It was a transformative advantage, allowing the Apache to expand trade networks, adapt to seasonal changes, and access hunting grounds with greater efficiency. Beyond scaling up their travois, the Apache displayed remarkable ingenuity by designing specialized variations tailored for speed, heavy cargo, or diverse terrains. The Apache social structure reflected a deep understanding of community cohesion. Unlike hereditary systems, their democratic leadership was based on merit, with leaders chosen for their wisdom, courage, and ability to unite the tribe. Leadership was not permanent, but required the continuous trust and respect of the community. Family life revolved around extended networks that provided stability and resilience. Among the Western Apache, a matrilineal system was prominent, with lineage traced through the mother's side. This structure granted women significant influence in community decisions, and newly married couples often settled near the wife's family, strengthening maternal bonds across generations. Spiritual practices and ceremonies were integral to Apache culture. Their distinctive ceremonial attire, including wooden masks with deep spiritual significance, marked important rituals. Strict protocols governed the use of face painting, with colors and patterns symbolizing peace ceremonies or war preparations. Unlike the elaborate feathered headdresses of Plains tribes, Apache warriors embraced a unique aesthetic reflective of their heritage. Economically, the Apache combined hunting, gathering, and trade into a sophisticated system. Hunting parties ranged across vast territories, while others engaged in trade with neighboring tribes. These exchanges included practical items as well as ceremonial goods, fostering expansive trade networks throughout the Southwest. Each tribe developed expertise in utilizing local resources. The Jicarilla excelled in trade, the Mescalero mastered desert plant harvesting, and the Chiricahua maintained dominance over mountainous hunting grounds and water sources. Women held pivotal roles within Apache society, contributing beyond familial responsibilities. They preserved food, crafted tools and clothing, and imparted survival knowledge to younger generations. Their meticulous management of resources ensured the community's endurance through harsh seasons. This balance between mobility and stability underscored Apache life, with women playing an indispensable role in maintaining this equilibrium. The Apache's democratic principles extended to everyday governance, with community councils addressing issues from resource distribution to conflict resolution. Respected members of all ages contributed their insights, fostering a collaborative approach that preserved social harmony and cultural knowledge. The Apache's story of resistance began long before their famous clashes with American settlers. Upon their arrival in the Southwest, they forged a powerful alliance with the Pueblo people. The Pueblos, with their permanent settlements, multi-story adobe structures, and advanced irrigation systems, shared agricultural expertise with the nomadic Apache. In return, the Apache supplied dried meat, animal hides, salt, and goods acquired through extensive trade. This symbiotic relationship created a prosperous trading network and ensured mutual protection against other nomadic tribes. However, the arrival of Spanish explorers in the 1500s disrupted this balance. Initially, the Spanish sought to integrate into the trade network, introducing metal tools, horses, and textiles. But their ambitions soon turned oppressive. Through the encomienda system, the Spanish imposed forced labor disguised as religious conversion and sought to confine the Apache to reductions, supervised settlements that stripped them of their autonomy. While some Apache groups retreated to unexplored territories, Others begrudgingly submitted to preserve their trade ties with the Pueblo. By the late 16th century, peaceful trade gave way to systematic oppression. Spanish military campaigns targeted Apache camps, severing their connections to trading routes and hunting grounds. The once thriving Apache-Pueblo partnership dissolved, ushering in an era of relentless resistance. The mid-18th century introduced a new challenge: the Comanche. Known in modern times for their portrayal in Hollywood westerns, the Comanche were far more complex than such depictions suggest. They rose as formidable masters of the southern plains, revolutionizing warfare with exceptional horsemanship and tactical ingenuity. Riding Spanish Mustangs, Comanche warriors excelled in mounted combat, perfecting the art of shooting arrows at full gallop. Their ability to command multiple horses during battle allowed them to sustain prolonged campaigns with unmatched agility and endurance. Historical accounts describe their dawn raids, where warriors approached from multiple directions, using the rising sun to disorient their enemies. For the Apache, the Comanche's swift and devastating tactics posed a formidable threat. This new adversary reshaped the landscape of conflict in the Southwest, forcing the Apache to adapt once more to ensure their survival. The superior mobility and sheer numbers of the Comanche gradually forced eastern Apache groups to abandon their ancestral hunting grounds in Texas and Oklahoma. Sacred sites, seasonal camps, and well-trodden hunting routes, sustained for generations, fell one by one to Comanche control. The loss of prime buffalo territories dealt a devastating blow to Apache food supplies and trading networks, triggering widespread displacement. Many Apache bands retreated to the rugged mountains of New Mexico, leveraging the terrain's natural defenses to counteract the Comanche's cavalry tactics. In a remarkable turn of events, some even allied with former adversaries, including Spanish settlers, to adapt to these sweeping changes. In the mountainous regions, Apache families transformed their way of life, mastering new survival strategies and forging alternative trade relationships. Just as they began to settle into these adjustments, the 1849 California gold rush unleashed a fresh wave of disruption. Thousands of settlers poured into Apache lands, not as fleeting raiders like the Comanche, but as a steady tide of permanent settlers. Wagon trains carved through traditional hunting grounds, disrupting wildlife patterns and polluting scarce desert water sources. The introduction of barbed wire fencing in the 1870s erected physical barriers across once open landscapes, further constricting Apache mobility and access to vital resources. Tensions escalated into open conflict in 1861 with the infamous Bascom Affair. Lieutenant George Bascom accused Cochise, a widely respected Apache leader, of kidnapping a boy and lured him to a meeting at Apache Pass. Cochise and his party were ambushed, with several family members taken hostage. Though Cochise escaped by slashing through the tent, the betrayal ignited a fierce resistance movement. This betrayal transformed the Apache strategy. Scattered bands unified into a highly coordinated resistance, turning their homeland into an impenetrable fortress. Every canyon became an ambush site, every mountain trail a hidden escape route. They perfected guerrilla warfare not as a novel tactic, but as a natural evolution of their traditional hunting skills. Apache warriors could strike swiftly and vanish, utilizing secret water sources and caves known only to them. Their calculated attacks targeted key elements of westward expansion, disabling telegraph lines, ambushing mail coaches, and raiding ranches to disrupt settler supply chains. This was not senseless violence. It was a deliberate campaign to make expansion unbearably costly. The U.S. Army's response was both formidable and revealing of their frustration. A network of forts was constructed across Apache territory, but the vast deserts and mountains proved nearly impossible to control. In a tactical shift, the Army recruited Apache scouts who knew the land as well as the warriors they pursued, creating a deadly game of tracking and counter-tracking. Among the Apache leaders, Geronimo's ingenuity stood unparalleled. With a band of just 35 warriors, he managed to evade capture by thousands of U.S. troops. His tactics, including decoy trails, nocturnal movements, and the division of his group into smaller, self-sufficient units, became legendary. At one point, Geronimo was pursued by 5,000 American soldiers, a quarter of the U.S. Army, plus thousands of Mexican troops. Despite his brilliance, the pressure mounted. The expansion of railroads brought settlers and soldiers in increasing numbers, while telegraph lines became too widespread to sabotage effectively. The buffalo herds that had sustained the Apache vanished, replaced by cattle fiercely guarded by settlers. The final chapter of resistance unfolded in the Sierra Madre Mountains of Mexico. Geronimo's band, which included women and children, survived on wild plants and meager game, constantly on the move. U.S. forces, led by General Miles, pursued them relentlessly with fresh troops and heliograph stations to coordinate movements. Deprived of rest, supplies, and hope, the Apache resistance waned under the unyielding pressure. When Geronimo finally surrendered in 1886, he reportedly said to General Miles, "Once I moved about like the wind. Now I surrender to you. And that is all." This poignant statement marked the end of not only a military campaign, but a centuries-old way of life. The aftermath was brutal for the Chiricahua Apache. Labeled prisoners of war, they were exiled to distant locations in Florida, Alabama, and Oklahoma. Families were torn apart, with children sent to boarding schools intent on erasing their Apache identity. Those who survived the relocation found themselves in foreign, humid climates, far removed from the deserts that had shaped their existence for generations. It was the ultimate cost of resistance, survival, but at the expense of their homeland and cultural continuity. Only in 1913, after 27 years of exile, were the Chiricahua Apache finally given a choice: to accept individual land allotments in Oklahoma or to join the Mescalero Reservation in New Mexico. Modern Apache. Preserving heritage in the 21st century, the Apache story doesn't conclude with the conflicts of the past. According to the 2000 Cultural Census, approximately 57,000 Americans identified as full Apache, with an additional 40,000 claiming partial Apache ancestry. These numbers reflect an extraordinary tale of resilience, adaptation, and cultural preservation in modern America. Today's Apache communities have forged a powerful blend of traditional values and contemporary enterprise. Across reservations in Arizona and New Mexico, diverse economic activities flourish. Some Apache families maintain cattle ranches, blending their ancestral connection to the land with modern agricultural practices. Others have embraced tourism, showcasing their heritage through guided tours, museums, and cultural centers. One notable example is the Apache Cultural Center in Arizona, which draws thousands of visitors annually, eager to immerse themselves in authentic Apache history and traditions. Despite the influence of modernization, the Apache have maintained strong ties to their ancestral practices. Traditional ceremonies continue to thrive, passed down through generations, ensuring that cultural roots remain intact. Many Apache youth learn their native language alongside English, guided by tribal elders who work tirelessly to preserve ancient stories and customs. Modern Apache artists, inspired by their heritage, create traditional beadwork and pottery, skillfully adapting historic designs for contemporary markets. Today, the largest Apache populations are found in Oklahoma, Arizona, California, and New Mexico. These vibrant communities prove that true power lies not in weaponry, but in endurance and the ability to adapt. Through education initiatives, cultural preservation programs, and economic development projects, the Apache have mastered a new kind of battle: the fight to sustain their identity in an ever-evolving world. By embracing modern opportunities while safeguarding their language, traditions, and sacred practices, today's Apache embody a warrior spirit redefined. Their legacy lives on, not through conflict, but through an unwavering commitment to survival and growth without losing the essence of who they are. Thank you for exploring the incredible story of the Apache Nation. Don't forget to hit subscribe for more fascinating Native American legends. See you next time.